Wato. Wato. We'll begin with Havdalah, and then we will move on to our extended and enhanced thought for the week. Okay. Inhale, Yeshua, say, Takuvayakod, Yazim Zimrasadeh, Navy, Healy, Yeshua, After my Missassi, my Yeshua, my Yeshua, Lampasapasala, the Nates way, Simon, Miskovana Yakusala, Nature Sashram de Abba, Nation Malakiane, no Vigain, Pareno. My son, I have a simple conversation. Vikar, Kane, Tialano, Princess Salvation, Necro. Tadina Malakaylam Bade, Tadina Malakaylam Bade, Mine, the Summon. Tadina, Malakaylam Bade, Yay, hey. Tadina, Malakaylam Bade, Erlakasia, Israel, I mean, it's really just me and myself. Tadina, Malakaylam Bade, What's up, everyone? Welcome to our Havdalah and extended sermon. So this week we talked about the Zachor, the remembrance of Amalek, that we're supposed to remember what Amalek did to us, and that they attacked us on our way out from Egypt. So the truth is the Amalekites are long gone. So the question is, what is the importance of remembering this? Why are we constantly reminded? And the whole Purim story is about the remembrance of Amalek. And the answer is that all of the Torah exists in the microcosmic and the macrocosmic, which means to say that on one hand, we are talking about the story of the people, but also there is every concept in the Torah also exists in the small world. The small world is the human being. The small world is us. So when we're told to remember what Amalek did, there is the Amalek. So the original Amalek, this nation attacks the Jewish people just because they hate them. It seeks to deter them on the journey from the exodus of Egypt to Sinai, the journey to receive the Torah, which is their purpose and indeed is for the purpose of the benefit of the whole world. The idea of truth and goodness and all the things that come from the Torah that benefit the whole world. Amalek wants to stop us from getting. And with this, if we look at our own individual lives, so it says that they surprised you on the way, they accosted you on the way. Amalek did, but the Hebrew word kar also means cold. So this could be read, they froze you on the way, they chilled you on the way. So on the way to receiving the Torah as individuals, there is the little Amalek within us which seeks to chill us. What's the definition of something cold? What's the idea that there is this negative spiritual force that we have to struggle with, that we have to fight with, that makes us cold. So coldness, as we know, something warm things tend to flow, they tend to meld, right? You know that when you heat something up, it mixes better. Tea works better in hot water than in cold water. And coldness is hard, and it creates separation. The things come apart when they're cold, they melt together when they're warm. And with this, we can understand another thing. In Bashalach, not the piece we read, but the original story of the Amalek attack, it says the Jews were in Rephidim. Rephidim is the name of a place, but it comes from the root Rafa, which means soft, weak, loose. And it says that the Jews loosened their hands on the Torah. That is why Amalek attacked them. Now, what does it mean as an individual we loosen our grip of the Torah? So you have the Torah. The idea of the loosen the grip is like when you're trying to fix something and you're not holding on to the tool well, it drops out of your hand. In other words, the coldness, the chilling effect of Amalek has to do with this concept of weakness and letting go. In other words, when we have the Torah, but we're cold to it, we're indifferent, right? Coldness is indifference, we say. We're indifferent to what it has to tell us. Why? Because whenever we see a nice idea of the Torah, a nice idea of behavior, of ethics, we say, you know what, I know someone. I know someone who needs that. I know some person who needs to see that. And in truth, very often we need to see that, and we need to apply that to ourselves. But the danger of the Amalek is not that we don't have Torah, but the quality of Amalek that we always have to guard against is where we become cold and indifferent what the Torah has to tell us because we are thinking of applying it to someone else. So whenever we see a situation where when we see a good lesson from the Torah of any sort, before we go apply it to someone else, we have to look deeply within ourselves and apply it to ourselves. We have to hold on to it strongly, that it relates to us, and we have to be warm to it to stand and face what the Torah tells us. Because it's only when we're willing to apply it to ourselves that when we seek to apply it to others, we have credibility. It's only when it matters to us that we can cause it to matter for someone else. And that's the lesson from this idea of the fighting, the internal, the little Amalek that exists within us. And the victory consists of the ability to be able to take each thing that we see in Judaism and apply it to our lives in a way that it matters to us, that we're not cold, that we're not indifferent, that we're not cynical. That in doing so, we're ultimately able to influence others. Shavua Tov. Thank you for joining us. And remember, tonight there's a nice moon out there, so we can go do Kiddush Levana.